You see what I'm saying? What's going on, Hoop Daddy 7? What's going on? You know? All right, so, but occurred, so the age of Aries. So think about it. Just think about it. Because guess what? In a few weeks, because Brother Mo, he's gonna love this. We're going to talk about the connection with the Sphinx, the kings, and the stars. Okay, yeah, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna talk about the connection between the Sphinx, the Haru and Maket, the kings, and the stars. Yeah, there is a connection. And I'm gonna throw in a Epitomac also. But yeah, there is a connection between the Sphinx, the kings, and the stars. All right, because the Haru and Maket is 10,500 years old. Okay, so there is a connection there. But we're going to get into that. And we're going to talk about the ancient astronomers of Nubia, how they align their stones with the constellation of Taurus, which represent Heteru. Yep, we're going to talk about that. Mentioned the body unfurling here. Yeah, so yeah, this August we're gonna have that conversation. We're gonna go into further detail with some of this information. We're gonna talk about the Sphinx. We're gonna talk about Naphtaliya and Heteru. So let's get it now. So if you are enjoying the content, like and subscribe so you don't miss anything, because we're about to go a little bit further dealing with Karnak and everything else and Hatshepsut. So let's get it. Now, the Hypostyle Hall. Okay, let me show you the Hypostyle Hall. I'm gonna try to get back to that slide where the Hypostyle Hall is. Okay, this is the Hypostyle Hall, fam. All right, this is the Hypostyle Hall. Okay, all right. So we dealt with the feet, right? And remember, the hidden one of that sacred space is right in here, right? And as somebody mentioned, everybody can't get in there, right? Dealt with the feet, the Hypostyle Hall. Now, when you step into it, that's the temple of resonance. The 134 papyrus columns do not merely support the roof; they was celestial harmonic. So each one of those columns was a book. You hear what I'm saying? Each one of these columns here was a book. So therefore, we had a library before a library. Each one of these columns was a book. So it's no coincidence that the capitals resemble blossoming papyrus, where you use papyrus for paper, a symbol of regeneration, clarity, and the word made manifest, right? And so they channel celestial harmonics. Each column acts as a tuning fork, a vibrating with chants and rituals performed within. But as I mentioned before, each one of these columns was a book. Not to mention the meta nature written everywhere else. See what I'm saying? Yeah. So now above the ceiling was I'm gonna get to that slide in a second. But above the ceiling, in some spaces there was painted with golden stars, the celestial sky. Below the stone floor grounds, you to the earth. Between them, you walked in a vertical axis. And remember, this is pointing north, right? And so the most sacred parts of the temple was in the east. There you go. So you walked from here to here. Okay. Walked in a vertical axis, crossways, a human, and this is a straight line, right? I'm looking at this. Goodness. This represented the spinal column. Just like when we discussed the Jed pillar, this aisle here, this section here represented the spinal column, and this space here represented the mind or the brain, right? So yeah, so you walked in virtual axis, human spine path, path of ascent, a path of knowledge, awakening that memory, right? And the priest, he wasn't just reciting information, he was teaching. Each area here had a few priests teaching other priests. Okay. And so this was not just a place of worship in a sense, it was a place of knowledge. Great knowledge. I appreciate it. Good stuff. Yeah, yeah. I was excited writing this, so I had to slow down. But yes, each area, each one of these areas represented something: the feet, the rib cage, the heart, the mind. Right, and so as you walk through these, you were dealing with say the names and the energies of the Neteru. You weren't reciting them; you was actually recreating them and reweaving them. So when you are reading that, you say, "I am powerful, I am great," and that kind of thing. And we have the sacred lake here, right here. We have the sacred lake, right? And so behind the sanctuary lies seemingly a simple lake, yet it is one of the oldest sacred bodies of water in Egypt. Okay, the lake was used for bathing, but also for spiritual reflection and temporal reset. And I told you, King Pi had to dip himself, he had to bathe himself. He went there to do that. Okay, when we discussed King Pi doing a physical, he was throwing hands and resetting Kemet. He bathed in that sacred lake right there. He sure did. So realizing that he had to purify himself before he even get to enter into here, he knew what it was. The Romans were just being disrespectful. So the water, of course, in ancient African cosmology, is a medium between the seen and the unseen, the realm of the noon, the primordial chaos before order. At Waset, at Karnak, the sacred lake was a mirror through which the priest could commune with the ancestors and the Neteru. And at night, it would still surface reflected constellations, turning the lake into a star map. Also, you have the star map in the temple above, right? But also, the sacred lake will reflect that. Let me get some water here. So we have the hypostyle. We have the foot at the bottom. That's where you enter. The hypostyle hall, the rib cage, the heart. Okay. The Middle Kingdom Court. The reason why they call it the Middle Kingdom Court, that's where it started. I told you guys it took them centuries to build this. Centuries to build this. One person didn't build all this. Every pharaoh added on to it. And that's another reason why some pharaohs, like Amenemhat the fourth, so Neferu's so-called stepbrother, fell into disfavor with some of the priests in Kemet, was because he didn't add on to this. Okay, what's going on, King Hercules? What's going on? Now, speaking of that, King Hercules got a fantastic mathematic presentation. I'm gonna have to bring him on to discuss the black mathematics, and this is all up his alley here. He talked about the space between spaces, and he showed the mathematical problem that deal with it. Yep, I'm gonna have to bring him on to let him cook. So, but yeah, but so in this, every king added on to this. Okay, and so we had the sacred lake, which was a place where you had to dip, you had to, you know what I'm saying, get yourself together. And so, and the festival, let me see if I can get another illustration to that. Oh, before I get to that though, all right, would you rather read the stars like a Kemetic priest, not knowing what we know, okay? Okay, good evening, Sister Linda. What's going on? Good evening. Just in time. We about to get into Hatshepsut's temple in a second. Would you read the stars like a Kemetic priest or read the minds like a Nubian seer? Like and comment below. Let me know. Would you rather read the stars like a Kemetic priest or read somebody's mind? Like and comment below. Let me know. Let's get it. Now, this is like I said, this is another representation of the Hypostyle Hall. Each column represented a book. This is the name of an Insubiti here. I want to say with this Mesu, but I can't read the rest of it. But Yeah, that look like Tahuti Mesu. That look like Tutmosis the third. Look like he put his stamp of approval on that thing. Okay. Yeah. And this is, of course, is the Wajet. Okay. So, both Wajet is around another Insubiti. And each one of these represent, and we have a moon here. Okay. Each one of these represented a book for a person to read, a person to study. The fam is saying they want to read people's mind. I don't want to know. No, I'd rather live the rest of my life not knowing. I'd rather not. Rather not. Blue Air said read minds. Herc says read mine. No, I'm with Sister Linda. I'm with read the star like a comedic priest. I'm for that. I'm for that. I'm for that. Everybody else want me read people's mind. For y'all nosy. That's the thing. Y'all y'all are nose up in this thing. Get your life together. Yeah. So this is another another view of the sacred lake. All of this is the Hypostyle hall here, what's left, and this is the area where the Jesseru is. It just flipped. Okay, this is the north right here. If you are looking at it, the right side is of course north. Okay, and this is south. The east is right in front of you, and then west. They're coming in from the west, right? And they're dipping and everything else, getting their life together. Okay, so at Karnak, the sacred lake was a mirror through which the priest could commune with the stars. And of course, at night it was a star map. It was both a womb and mirror and a portal and a purifier. That's what it was. Brother Joseph Ferguson want to be Professor X. Okay, you got it, bro. You got it. Yeah. So the sacred lake was a womb and a mirror. It's a birthing place and a place of reflection. It was a massive place of reflection. I like whenever I go out and go to a pool. I don't like to do all that dunking and all that. I just like to sit in the water, just to relax, just to chill. Okay, so this was that place. Okay, now the festival of Opet each year. And by the way, this is also this is a section also built by Seti the first. Okay, this is built by Seti the first. That was on the outside of it. Okay, that was on the outside. But the festival of Opet, the divine union and rebirth, each year, the Karnak became a center of divine alchemy during the Opet festival, when the statue of a moon would be carried from Karnak to Luxor Temple along the avenue of the Sphinxes. Okay, the round Sphinxes. We still gotta chop it up about that. This was a mystical procession, a metaphysical procession of transference of knowledge and power. A moon traveled to unite Mut and the mother and Khonsu the sun, forming the sacred triad of divine birth. And it was carried in a golden chest, very similar to the Ark of the Covenant. All right. So this journey was symbolic of the soul's own path, the departure from the throne. Let me go. Departure. They go from here, carrying the chest from here, and they just made that procession outward. Okay. This journey was symbolic of the soul's own path, the departure from that hidden place, that secret place. We all have that. Okay. And then you emerge, you become transformed, you become renewed. Okay. And transformation or thoughts starts within the mind. Then it goes into the action. Okay. And so and when it comes back and it returns to the one who sees with both eyes, the Wajet with divine vision. So yeah. So the temple as a Stargate. I think Brother Mo mentioned this, and I think Hoop Daddy Seven said this. The temple as a Stargate, a living portal to the Duat. Yeah. It is. Any architecture of Karnak is embedded in a deeper truth. Its temple is a Stargate. Okay, its temple is a Stargate. Thresholds between pylons are energetic gates, each one guarded by the Neteru. Okay, hieroglyphic writing and sacred knowledge passed down from generation to generation. It is also sacred geometry about the duat or the afterlife. See, the outer courtyards representing the waking life, and the deeper you go, the more subtle the energy becomes until you reach the Jesser root, the holy of holy, or the black womb, the seed point of stillness. So to walk through Karnak was to, as an initiate, was to undergo death and rebirth while you're yet living. Most of these processes, most of the initiations at the time, it was a form of death and then rebirth. It was a rehearsal of transfiguration, a slow uncoiling of the Ka and Ba, the Ka, Ka, and Ba, Ba, the soul's essence, winged freedom. So the way it is made now, the way you see it now, but think about back at that time. I still want to go, but it is a sleeping giant in the sense of spiritual memory. Every stone still hums, say, with a sound of the ancient chants. Every crack, the columns remember the footsteps of the Kari Heb or the high priest, or even the Insubiti that walked through them. Okay, so it waits for people to remember that, I think. Okay, for those who know how to listen, the Temple of Waset, it still speaks. Okay, and so, but let me get back to it. I really like this image here. This is the temple here. It is shaped like the body of a person, and each king built each phase of this. Started with the Middle Kingdom on out. And think about the architects. Think about the grand architects that designed this. They had to be on point too. They had to be on point. Each one of them had to build a phase. And it started here, and then it expanded. And of course, we had the Temple of Khonsu here, the Temple of Ptah, Temple of Muntu. But it started right here in the center, and then it expanded outward. Yeah. So I just have to go back to it because that's crazy. All right. So let me fast forward here. I have to go back to it. Now, we talked about the Temple of Cosmic Machine, the Nubian Temple, the Karnak Complex, Hatshepsut's Temple, and we got a bonus. And yeah, Brother Moore, check and roll at the end. Now, the magnificent Jesseru or Holy of Holies. Yep. I've been kind of pushed. I kind of touched on it a little bit, but now we're gonna have to lean into this one. The magnificent Jesseru of Holy of Holies of Queen Hatshepsut's mortuary temple. But before that, I got a question. Now, got a question. Would you rather be initiated in a secret Nile Valley order or train in a healing temple like a Per-Ankh or a House of Light? Yeah. And we got to, for the fan, let me go back to it. This, for the loud people in the back, this is what Black people did. That's, matter of fact, that's just a fifth of that. That is a sleeping giant there. A sleeping giant that was built by sleeping giants of today, in a sense. You see what I'm saying? Because before the Middle Kingdom, you had the pyramids. They was building these. Okay, and then so they went from the pyramid, from the solar kind of thing, to the hidden, they went into, say, the Valley of the Kings, and each chamber. Them, when you think about the Valley of the Kings, right, and how it was built, think about the Valley of the Kings and how it was built. Those vaults and those rooms, those tombs, like KV5, Ramses II, and Ramses III tomb, they did not collapse on each other. Yeah, they didn't collapse. Sleeping Giant said, yeah. A lot of people Okay, so Linda, train in a healing temple or per Ankh. Okay. King Hercules, get initiated. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Blue Aries, train in a healing temple. Okay. Healing temple. Yeah, I get it. With all the things that's going on in our community. Yeah, I think we need both. I think we need both people that's duly initiated and trained to heal. You see what I'm saying? Because we're gonna need them both. We're gonna need them both. And I think the thing is, though, in order for you to be a healer in a healing temple, you had to be initiated in that process anyway. All right. Yeah. Healing temple per Ankh. Very good. House of light. Yeah. Now, let's get to it. All right. Now we're going to enter into the crux of the whole matter. Okay. The heart of basically tonight's focus, the Deir el-Bahari, the temple of Hatshepsut. Unlike many other rulers, Hatshepsut's temple is a declaration of divine birth, feminine rulership, and cosmic legitimacy. Remember, she was queen and Insubiti, right? She was Sematawi, and she aligned herself with Sobek Neferu because she was a female Insubiti or an emperor. Okay, built on the cliffs at Thebes at Waset, the three-tier structure echoes threefold path of the soul. We're going to get into that. We're going to break that down. Emergence, ascension, and divine reunion. The central colonnade tells the sacred story, just like that the central focus, that line that represents the spinal column. It declared that she was not just a regular king, but she was divine. Okay. Okay. He says, not to swear topic, but their anomaly in parts of Africa, I think, is like a black block. I don't know. So, all right. Now, Del el-Bahari, chapels to Hathor, Anupu flank the temple. Hathor's and remember, to be made in Subiti, yes, Isis birthed you into this thing, but Hathor had to co-sign. Okay. And so Hathor, the goddess of the womb and stars, symbolizes celestial ascent. Anubis, guardian of the dead, ensures resurrection. Together they create the spiritual gate of rebirth. So this is the temple of Del Bahar. This is a complex. Okay. Now, this is her temple of Hatshepsut right here. And this is the temple of Mentu Hotep, which is an ancient ancestor that came before her about, correct me if I'm wrong, about 1,000 years. So Hatshepsut wanted to align herself with the ancestors. And of course, Tutmosis III has his temple here. Okay, so we have the very similar thing. We have the column, we have the columns, we have the different phases, and we're going to discuss them. Okay, so now the first terrace, the first section here, okay, represents the outer world. Okay, represents the outer world. Okay, civic rituals, public processions. Okay, the middle, that middle part. The second terrace, that's the mystic realm, the divine stories, birth, and it deals with Ponce expedition. I have another image of this. We're gonna get to that in a second. The third terrace, the inner sanctum, right here. This third, so there's 1, 2, 3. Okay, the innermost part, the inner sanctum, union with the gods, the solar sanctuary. So the terraces was symbolic of the body, the soul, and the spirit. The initiate's journey, not unlike, is very similar, say, to the chakras, but this is a cosmic thing. This is a African thing. Okay, the terraces were it wasn't like a stair, but they were thresholds. Every level represented a trial, a vision, and a mirror. The temple, like I said, is structured in 3 ascending levels. You're going up. Okay, it symbolizes an initiate's path. Okay, so this is the first terrace, the earthly realm. Okay, world of forms and mortality. Right, the earthly realm. Okay, that is the first terrace. The second, intermediary, that's where myths and divine stories are carved, and then the third. Okay, so we have the, let me see if I can find it. Let me find a good one. I'm just going to use this one. The axle ramp here, the path of the sun or the initiate. Okay. The path of the sun or the initiate. That is the central processional ramp. Is symbolic of the journey of the sun, Ra, or a moon through the heavens and the underworld, right? It also reflects the initiate spiritual path from ignorance to enlightenment, from uh from unknowing to knowing. The porches, okay, or the colonized, okay, that is these sections here, okay, the colonized here. Okay, they depict mythological scenes, sacred hunts, and symbols of divine order, victory, and protection. Obelisks are similar symbols or solar symbols pointing. They at that time they had obelisks here, pointing to Ra and a connection to the divine light. And so we have number 8. Where is that? Oh, there it is. This is on this side here, on the left hand side. When they go up, that tells the story of her going to Ta-Neter, or God's land. Okay, journey to the ancestral spiritual source. Okay, and then we have number 6 on this side. We have number 8, then because you're going up. Okay, you're going from external to the intermediary to the internal. So on number 6, it shows Hatshepsut's divine birth and divine legitimacy as queen. Okay, that is the middle north colonnade, right? And so we start here, external, intermediary, then you go into the internal, right? Now, then we have the sanctuary of Hatshepsut, okay, right here. Sanctuary of Hatshepsut, that is Sanctuary of Hatshepsut as a deified person. Once you go through that process, once you get into the innermost part, then you are now the Neter Neteru, okay, the Neb Nebu. You are that guy, basically. Okay, just like the Temple of Karnak, where the innermost part was only for the priests and the rulers, right? Sanctuary was that represented Hatshepsut as a deified being. It represented the soul's transformation into that divine form. Okay, and the chapel of Anubis. Okay, let me see what we have. Hathor shrine here. The chapel of Anubis is right here. That represented death. Before you can even get into the that Hatshepsut that inner sanctuary, something has to come off. Okay, it's dedicated to Anubis. This is a transition point between the mortal world, the external world, into the realm of the duat, right? And we have the chapel of Hathor here, chapel of Hathor, goddess of beauty, music, fertility, and the afterlife, right? And so each terrace, each phase represented something. So this is also when you start represented birth. The chapel has Hathor represented birth, fertility, and it is a political move in a sense where, as well as a spiritual science, the queen becomes pharaoh through birth. Hatshepsut channels Hathor's energy, sensual, powerful, creative, and sovereign. This is sacred womanhood here. And it's divine exaltation, not ornamental, not secondary, but primary. So when Queen Hatshepsut made her way from here into this little shrine here of Hathor, she was saying that she was going to be born as queen. She was physically born. Now she's gonna be spiritually born. Yes, something has to come off. Then she has to come here. Okay, um, so why? I got a question. Why does modern society fear the return of, say, the divine masculine and divine feminine? In your opinion, what do you think? Why is that? Why is learning this information such a problem in certain to certain people? You know, I'm just asking because everybody has to undergo a process. Okay, and so we have the porch of Punt, right? Really quick. That's where they had that discussion with God's land, right? And so when they each each phase represented a certain level. Now the chapels, okay. Now dealing with let me see, where is it? the shrine of Anubis. Okay, we got the shrine of Anubis that is transitioning, embalming. And matter of fact, that is where they embalmed her. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. When she actually had her last rites, it was there. It was there. It's non-Eurocentric. It's not Eurocentric. That is correct. A lot of these things are African customs, but the people of Kemet put it in stone. And the people of Kemet was like, no, this is actual fact. Yeah. Because the reason why is because the line from the white nationalist America would destroy their mental stability. Obama already fractured it. Yeah. When people start doing a reset and they start undergoing that external to internal process and saying, hey, I am the Lord here. I am the king here, the queen here. You can't tell me what to do. You need to dust your shoe. You need to dust off your feet before you come here. You see what I'm saying? And so these chapels were right around here. So we have the external, immediate, and the internal court. Okay. Now the royal worship chapel, that's where she had her personal space. Okay. But this here, 13, Amen, and royal family chapel, that is the Jesseru right here. That small space. Yeah. The small space. And Ra Harkathi courtyard, that is on the outside there. And there's Anubis's upper chapel right here, but it is straight line. Okay, that is outside. That's the initiate, the scholar, the master. Initiate, scholar. You learning about punt. You learning about your history. You got to divest yourself. You got to challenge yourself. You got to get better. Change has to be made. You have to be created and made and remade into something better. Then you can go into the Jesseru. That's how it goes. Okay, that's how it goes. Okay, and so of course the ramp is many times before that is the spinal column. Okay, the spinal cord. And the terraces are those sacred spaces. The entire structure operates like a machine. Okay, and so the temple of Mentuhotep right here is right here, by the way. Like I said, she deliberately built her temple next to an older mortuary temple to align herself with an ancestor. And of course, to Moses, as many times he tried to separate himself from his stepmother, here he is, okay, right next to her. Okay. Just remember this. Remember this. If you don't remember anything else, there's phases to this, there's levels to this. Mind, body, and spirit, mind, body, and soul, levels of initiation or Egyptian cosmological layers, the earth, the duat, and the sky, solar realignment, resurrection, divine order, solar kingship. Something has to change when you're going through this process. And if you remain the same while you're going through this process, you're gonna be very disappointed. And I'm sure quite a few people have when they went to these places and said, "Oh, it does nothing for me." Okay, it wasn't for you. Just like I seen a picture of they have a race car track, some kind of race car track by the pyramids. So you guys are trying to monopolize on comedic science and comedic information, and you got a doggone Indy 500 type situation by the pyramids. Yeah, those spaces aren't sacred to you. Okay, it's not important to you. See what I'm saying? So yeah, I have to go say that. But even though Tutmosis tried to erase who she was, but she still was her. See what I'm saying? She still was her. Okay. Her temple is eternal because it wasn't built on ego, but it was divine order. It was built on Ma'at. Hatshepsut carved herself in the stone, so we would remember who she is. And so now that was the magnificent Jesseru. All right. Now, Osirian temple at Abydos. Now, Abydos Abydos itself is an ancient place. That is a pre-dynastic old kingdom area. Okay. So beneath the sand and behind the lies of behind the myth basically lies, say, Kemet's one of Kemet's oldest mysteries, because um this subterranean chamber lies behind the temple of Seti the first in Abydos. Now, Abydos as a complex, as a site, is old. And Seti the first, just like Hatshepsut, built the temple next to an ancestor. Seti decided to do the same thing. He made the shrine of Osiris, the Lord of Resurrection. Now, there I've been told that the there is a tomb of Osiris at Abydos also. I got to do my homework. Okay. And so it's surrounded by water, megalithic granite pillars, and Osirian symbolizes the primordial water of Nun, and the Ennead, or the ancient Neteru, was symbolically housed here in watery depth, mirroring the unconscious foundation of creation from unconscious to conscious. It was a place of ritual baths and purification, a place where initiates would face darkness and to be reborn again. So we have that birth to rebirth situation again. Okay. So no matter what phase, be it in the pyramids, be it the old kingdom, be it the temple of Karnak, Hatshepsut's temple, or even here, you hear that change, that rebirth coming through, right? You hear that life, death, rebirth again. So to me, these complexes mean a lot. Okay, they were those sacred spaces, those sacred isles, and I wish that we all can kind of get understanding that if we can visit that, we see that they're coded maps for spiritual transformation and information, right? And so the temple